Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a FBI forensic artist, and of course, the author of the book Clay and Bones, no other than Miss Lisa Bailey. Welcome to Book
Hello.
101, Miss Lisa, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Oh, sure, thanks. Um, well, oops. Okay, I didn't want to talk over the music.
Go ahead, Miss Lisa.
Okay. Let's see. I was an FBI forensic artist for 18 years, which is undeniably the best job in the world. I loved every second of it uh, because that's the job. At the FBI, you get to do every type of forensic art that's out there. So you do composite drawings and you diagram crime scenes and interview witnesses. My specialty was facial approximation from the skull. So that is creating the likeness of a person's face from their skull because they have been unidentified for any number of years or even decades. And so we're trying to uh, literally put a face to this unknown person because unless the police know who the victim is, they can't find out who killed them. And most of my cases for the facial approximation were homicides. So for every skull out there, there's a killer or serial killer out there. So
Miss Lisa, what inspired you to write Clay and Bones and share your journey as the first female forensic sculptor at the FBI?
oh gosh, well, a big inspiration was, if you watch TV shows, CSI, Bones, nothing against them because they got a lot of people interested in forensics as a career. Uh, and I'd never considered forensics as a career. I kind of fell into it. But forensic art is one of those professions where we really rely on the public to help solve our cases. So it's not like you can put fingerprints in a database and it'll come up with something. So all the work that we produce, we need the public to see and understand and know how it was created, know the purpose and know the limitations, and then that can help them uh, view our work through essentially an educated lens. So when we do a sculpture, let's say of an unidentified person, and we put it out there to the public, they need to know that we can get a likeness. Sometimes we can get more of a likeness than other times. There's a number of factors that go into that, but there are things that people key on which they shouldn't. Like I've seen things where they'll try to compare an unidentified person, a sculpture, to a missing person. And they might say, oh, the mouth is the same, or the eyebrows, or, the coloring is the same. And those are things that are very unreliable in doing a facial approximation. So that was one of my big motivators is letting people know how we do the job. It's not just facial approximation because in my book, I started right after 9/11. I had actually been kind of a holding pattern for a couple of years due to hiring freezes and all that. But when I walked in the door November 2020, 2001. So all the artists were still working on the demonstrative evidence for 9/11, and I had to jump right in there with them. Uh, so it goes through my start of my career, which I said I really kind of fell into. I had been a graphic artist before and used that and applied that to forensics. So having design skills, Photoshop skills, drawing skills, developing sculpting skills, all that came from my prior 20 years in graphics and in the art field. And then again, applying that to forensics.
How did your background as a graphic artist and Russian linguist in the Navy prepare for you for your role as an FBI forensic artist?
Well, I can credit the Navy for giving me a lot more confidence and kind of knowing how to put my foot down on things. Gesundheit. And, sorry. And a big thing with joining the Navy, yes, is confidence. Also, being a Russian linguist, I had a top secret clearance, and that helps pave the way for entering anything like the FBI or the CIA. But being a graphic artist at Johns Hopkins, it was working under a tight deadline. It was working on different types of presentation art. We had to be able to draw things from scratch. We were working with literally rocket scientists. So we would be creating artist depictions and scenarios of systems that they envisioned and wanted to create. So it was tight deadlines, fast-paced, working on every type of graphic program. Like any artist is going to understand this. I started before there were layers in Photoshop. That's how far back I go. So I really did learn from the ground up.
Miss Lisa, can you describe the moment you first saw the FBI job posting for forensic artists and what drew you to this unique career path?
Oh gosh, it's funny, I have to credit Dunkin' Donuts because I used to go there every Sunday and read the leftover papers. And this was in 1997, before the internet was up as much as it was. So I was just flipping through the want ads, and I was working at Hopkins, so I was not looking for a job, but I saw a great big FBI seal and said artist wanted, and I was like, what? And I read when I read the posting, it was like they had my resume in front of them. I had a top secret clearance. I could draw. I worked under tight deadlines. I knew Photoshop. I knew freehand. I knew 3D software. So I ticked every box on what they were looking for. And I wasn't going to apply because I thought, well, there's no way this job is real. It's too cool. It's too much of a cool job. It's not real. But I applied anyway, and I thought, well, maybe if it's a real job, I have a shot. And if they're just doing it to, if they have to post it for whatever reason, well, then maybe I'll get a tour of the FBI. That would be pretty cool. And that's really how I thought of it. I didn't seriously think I'd get it. I knew I was qualified for it, but I knew there was going to be a ton of competition, if it was an honest to God job. But I made it through. It took a while because, this was actually sending in a paper resume. And I sent it FedEx because I wanted to know, by God, that it got there and, it didn't get lost in the mail or something. So, so the initial process, I put the application in, didn't hear anything. A few months go by, then I hear that a few months went by and there was basically crickets. And then one day at work, I got the phone call that they wanted to interview me. And I was like, oh my God, I thought that it had been filled. So I did an interview and got a call a few days later that I had the job. Lost my mind. I was so thrilled. That's also when Silence of the Lambs was big in theaters. So I was like, oh my God,
I love Silence
for
of the
FBI.
Lambs.
Yes.
In the
I've been
book,
down to the.
yes, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Miss Lisa. No
No,
worries, go
it's
ahead.
just if you love Silence of the Lambs, the behavioral science unit down there is real. It's about 3 floors underneath the cafeteria at the academy. They've got a mannequin of Anthony Hopkins in a cage with a can of fava beans when you walk in the door. It's hysterical. They have a sense of humor at the FBI, believe it or not.
In the book, you mentioned facial approximation being the most intriguing part of your work. Can you explain the
Absolutely.
process and why it was compelling?
the process, what was so compelling for me was, again, you're putting a face to an unidentified person. Like, I can't imagine, we literally get a skull in a box. It comes in through FedEx. Again, I'm not promoting FedEx, but that's how the evidence comes in. There's a skull in a box, and you just think, oh my God, this person they were a person, they had a life. How did they end up here? And figuring out what the face looks like just from the skull, to me, it was just a puzzle, and I had to know more. I had to figure it out. It's like, if the bone curves this way, what is that going to do on the face? So I was instantly fascinated. As soon as I knew that facial approximation could be part of the job, I was like, I'm going to, by God, learn everything there is to know about it. So that was going through, scientific journals, talking to anthropologists. It was all that. Though the process for when a skull comes into the FBI, comes into the evidence unit, first goes to the anthropologist after all the paperwork and everything, because the anthropologist, even though it might have been examined in the field, the FBI anthropologist needs to do their own assessment. So they do the age, sex, ancestry, and approximate stature of the individual. Because forensic artists, I'm going to make this really clear, forensic artists do not determine that. We do not have the training. I mean, these are anthropologists with PhDs. They're the one that determine this. So once I get the report from the anthropologist, so I might know that it's a 30 to 50-year-old female, European descent. I'll have the crime scene report, and I'll sit with the anthropologist and go over the features of the face, like things that the anthropologist is seeing. Like, they can tell me whether or not their nose was broken in the past, or was it broken after they died, like, say, animal activity. So to not let that affect the sculpture. So, we had a number where, the nose had been broken in life, because then the sutures, the anthropologist can tell that these are healed sutures. And then, I might have a crooked nose to work with. Things like that. Anything unusual about the skull is going to be a great potential identifier for getting this person's name back. Average skulls are the most frustrating. I won't say they're the worst, that they're the most frustrating, because, the word approximation is, we're already approximating what we're at, kind of not averaging out, but it's it's kind of like not nailing Jello to a wall, for that expression, but it's that's just the most frustrating part. But again, that's why it's so important that the public understands what isn't possible in a facial approximation, and not to get swayed by fancy hairdos and bright colors, and things that are more artistic flourishes, and that there's no forensic basis for. So at the Bureau, we always made the sculptures neutral. They were just all one color. Just like when you see a sculpture, a statue of Lincoln or Washington, or anybody any known person, you don't need color to know who that person was. It's the facial structure, it's the bone structure. Color can throw things off, and because these are skeletal remains, we don't have color information. So putting that in might make for a prettier picture, but it doesn't serve its purpose, and it can actually detract and prevent an identification, and that is something that horrifies me. That was my absolute biggest fear, was that something could I have possibly prevented an identification? And I knew that really wasn't going to happen. Number one, because we work as a team, nothing falls on any one person. So it's all a joint effort. So any identifications that might have happened, I never, you don't pat yourself on the back and go, look what I did. It's like, no, it's a team effort. And a lot of people put a lot of work into identifying these people.
And Miss Lisa, as an author and FBI forensic. What are your short-term and long-term goals?
Oh my gosh, you know, retirement's awesome. I'll tell you that. Retirement is awesome. But but I still, I'm not working in forensic art now. In the past, you had to be in law enforcement. Now with all the digital options, that's not as necessary. But there's plenty of other people that um, deserve the chance and earn the chance to be a forensic artist on their own. They don't need some dinosaur coming in and taking all their jobs. But I am interested in still teaching and educating people about what the job entails. If anybody wants to be a forensic artist, I will do my level best to help them. I'll tell them anything they want to know about the field, how to increase their chances. I am all about that. So, I that's just sort of I get excited about it. It's like I was so happy to become a forensic artist, and I honestly felt like it was my life's work. Uh, so gosh, if anybody wants that opportunity, I'm all about helping them to get there. So
Good.
yeah.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Lisa.
Thank you.
And now, what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be an author like you?
An author,
Yes.
have something that you care about so much that in your darkest hours you're still gonna want to sit down and write. Because I
Yes.
never imagined writing a book, but it's it's like it was. I was compelled. It was just I had to, and nothing surprised me more. But you have to care about it so much that you will wake up at 4 in the morning with an idea in your head and get up and make coffee and go write.
Yes,
So
definitely.
push through, push through.
Can you please recommend a book that influenced your journey? And thank you for your advice, Miss Lisa.
Oh, oh God. Well, I was already a forensic artist when I read Working Stiff. That's by Judy Belenik. But I would say for anybody that enjoyed her book, for being a medical examiner, mine is sort of the same. It's the same genre, sort of the same ilk of her journey as a medical examiner, mine as a forensic artist, and I'm sure so many people know about Stiff by Mary Roach. Uh, those are my two big ones. Oh gosh, I can't forget Death's Acre by William Bass. That's about the body farm in Tennessee. Those are
Mm.
those are all required reading.
Thank you for your recommendation, Miss
Thank you.
Lisa. And what was like transitioning from creating art for justice to writing a memoir that expressed systemic issues within the FBI?
Oh, unfortunately, well, it's there are some fields and there's some places, agencies. I was in the Navy, and that was 30. Oh my gosh, I was in the Navy 40 years ago. So there was some harassment. I'm sure there still is. I hate to say, but it's a fact of life. The um the thing with the bureau, that was another reason for me writing the book, is I did come up against one very severe case of discrimination with one supervisor, and I had to speak out about it. It never occurred to me that it would happen. Um, when I was at Hopkins, I'd never faced that. There are some, they was a great place to work, and I loved the FBI. I loved working there. There's great people there. All the agents I worked with were terrific, but unfortunately, things can get maybe politicized. I mean, we're seeing that now, and people can have grudges and agendas, and it happens. I just read the paper, look online. I mean, it happens. So I wanted to speak out about that because I was not about to leave my job. I was not about to leave. So I dug my heels in, and it's like I'm not going to get pushed out of this job because of one person. Because one person is, you know, I'm not going to
Definitely.
get, I'm not going to, you are not going to push me out of the best job in the world. So I stood my ground. I stood my ground. And yeah, I got that from my dad. Yeah.
What challenges did you face in writing about such a personal and painful experience of workplace discrimination, and how did you overcome them?
Reliving it. I tried for the longest time when I just tried to put it out of my mind. And because it really is traumatizing, it really is. When you start thinking about some of the things that happened, you just get upset all over again. And I became enraged. And it's like, it's over, it's over, it's done. And it's like, no, it's not over. It's not over unless I say something about it. Um, and I would literally wake up at, 3 in the morning, just enraged, couldn't sleep, and I would start writing things down. And it never started as a book. It was just basically, getting things out. Um, and that's also when I thought, I really have to. I had almost like you have to warn others. It's like this can happen. The first half of my career was really not smooth sailing, but it was fine in that regard. But unfortunately, all it can take is who has one person in a position of power, um, who can make your life a living hell. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. So, what do you do when you refuse to quit a job? And even if you think, well, maybe I should leave, there is truly nowhere else to go. Because being a forensic artist and, a forensic sculptor, my God, at the FBI, there's no other place you can do that job. You might as well say, I want to be an astronaut. It would be easier because there's a career, clear career path. But, you know, FBI forensic sculptor, man, that is the brass ring. So I know there's other men and women, and other people in jobs where are you going to stay and fight? Or are you going to leave? You're going to go. It's like you have a decision to make.
Yes,
That's
in
that's what I had to. That was what I dealt with. Yeah.
Miss Lisa, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I invite you to please don't listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in
So
second season, and food 101 in fifth season as well, geography in fourth season, and my baby podcast, law 101 and mental health 101, love letters in third season, and movie 101 review and music 101 in its fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them
okay.
wherever you listen your podcast.
Absolutely.
Miss
Absolutely.
Lisa, Miss Lisa, for listeners of Book 101 review and as well as the viewers, what key takeaway do you hope they gain from Clay and Bones about resilience, justice, and forensic art?
I'm gonna say, don't. It sounds trite. Don't give up, and you never know. You never know where you're going to end up, because it never occurred to me that I would ever be a forensic artist, but in making the decisions that I made along the way, that by God, I was going to get my degree. I was going to become a graphic artist. I did become an artist. All those things I never realized it would lead to the FBI. So it's great to have a dream, but sometimes you kind of get your dream without knowing it's out there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
make good decisions, do what's good for you. Yeah. And don't give up.
definitely.
Don't give up. Don't let anybody tell you no.
Definitely, Miss Lisa Bailey. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And can you
Thank
please
you.
invite our listeners to support Clay Bones?
Absolutely. Clay and Bones, it's available audio, Kindle. It's now in paperback. So, if I can say, if anybody's read Working Stiff or the new book by Barbara Butcher, I think you'd enjoy Clay and Bones.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Lisa Bailey because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Lisa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
More to come, people. See you soon.